in a world ruled by rationality, we tend to cling to fairy tales, stories, and even the movies we've watched growing up. It offers us a sense of fantasy which we all crave for. And because love is an intense emotion, it can at times lead us to make poor decisions. So how do we avoid this? By looking for common themes in your past relationships and figuring out the root of the problem, you will be able to identify the reason to why you make bad decisions. Know your worth. Acknowledge that you are worthy of love and attention and deserve someone who will respect you. Lead by example. Get advice from those who have a positive track record in their love life. They may have knowledge to share with you and could lead you where you want to be. Therefore, always remember, when it comes to love, it is important to have a good relationship with yourself before you get into relationships with others.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's show. Tonight we are going to be talking about love. What is love? Well, there are quite a lot of definitions about love. Well, in today's society, love means feeling, passions. But when we really take a close look to the word love, has the word love not been generally misused? Don't you think, dear viewer, that the true and genuine love has been misused by people? I mean, how many couples who say to one another, "I love you, honey. Would you marry me?" But then this love is just a pretense. In reality, actions show otherwise. The Word of God is clear when it says, God so loved the world that He gave. It doesn't say He felt. He gave His Son. We are going to have a live guest here tonight who's been through living hell. She suffered a lot. In fact, her suffering led her to try to commit suicide at least twice. She's been through a lot, but she's here tonight to share with us her amazing, life-changing story. And here with me on the studios tonight, I've got the honor to have here my honorable guest, Pastor Roland. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Douglas. Good evening to all viewers.
Sir, the topic tonight, what is love?
Well, before giving any definition, when we speak about love nowadays, not only this word has been misused, Douglas, but has lost its meaning. People doesn't take love anymore, or this word love, as so powerful as it is. It has become like a comma in a sentence. People say it out of just a mere speech. They don't say it with meaning. Out of this word love nowadays, people are getting advantaged from others and not showing the true love, not really, as you said, giving, just taking, not giving anything to others because they are selfish. Many people are acting nowadays with this selfishness, based on the word love. They love themselves. And because this care, they say that they love themselves, this selfishness is ruling over their mind and actions as well. And then when they want something from a person, from family member, from the beloved one, they misused their feelings, actually their love.
Love nowadays, as you said, and you put it very well, has been so misused, Pastor Roland, that it's everywhere in all the social networks. You can see that even on those emoji icons, usually when people want to say that they love you, they send like a little figure of a heart. Because, you know, in today's society, you know, the shape of a heart is a symbol of love. But can we really connect one thing with the other? I mean, what does love have to do with heart? I understand that this heart is a sort of emotion, isn't it?
Is what I mean. For example, how many people are broken-hearted at home now watching us, and because of their belief in a word of the beloved one, when the beloved one said, let me give an example, if you love me, you, my girlfriend, you will sleep with me. Now this lady, believing that to show love to this person, had to go to this action. And one night was enough for the guy to just get what he wanted and leave and go. So because of this love without connection, without really the true meaning of love, the person is there in tears. Believed in a word that was empty. A word love that didn't have the true meaning of love. It was just a feeling or an action to take advantage from a person.
We are going to watch now the story of someone who suffered a serious issue in her family. In fact, she had an issue with her dad and couldn't really let go of it. She couldn't get over it. And this issue with her dad brought a lot of disastrous consequences to her father-daughter relationship. Watch now, and we are going to be back shortly.
I grew up with a lot of internal issues because I used to see my dad abusing my mum. It was a very difficult thing for me to see at such a young age. It affected me deeply. I grew up with low self-esteem, and I used to look for ways to fill that void that I had inside of me through being with the wrong kinds of people. I didn't know how to say no. I felt like I didn't know who I was, and I had a lot of anger towards my dad for what he had done. So I refused to see him, I refused to speak to him, and I felt very empty inside. I really searched for ways to try and to fill this emptiness, but nothing worked. I felt unsatisfied. The worst moment was when I almost ended up getting into a situation where I almost lost my virginity, but not because I liked being with the person, but because I didn't know how to say no, because I didn't have any control over myself. I felt like I was just led by people. So when I got into that situation, it really scared me, because I thought, what more can happen if I have no control over myself? I don't know how to say no to people. I was a people pleaser. It was when I decided that I'd had enough, when I got to a point where I'd literally had enough of being the way that I was. I'd had enough of feeling down and empty and sad. I'd had enough of being led by people and not having control over myself. And it was when I developed my faith in God and the steps that I was taught, and I learned to grow, to know myself, to know who I was. It was then that I took those steps to change, and I did an 180-degree turn on like the people who were bad influence on me. I said no to the way that I was. I determined that I would be a new person, I would be a different person, and I took steps towards that. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it, and I'm really happy with the person that I am today. I'm completely different. That void that I had, it's been filled, and I'm so much more happy. I forgave my dad. We rebuilt our relationship. My family is complete, even though I came from a broken home, but I don't feel like I came from a broken home. I'm now happily married. I surround myself with people who are like-minded, so I know where I'm going, I'm focused, and I'm happy with life.
This is what the power of faith does. As you can see, there is nothing to do with religion. It is intelligent faith based on the Word of God. When we talk about the Word of God, dear viewer, we are not talking about an old book of fairy tales. The Bible is the mind of God. The Bible expresses the thoughts, the ideas of God. And all these people that are watching now here on this show, from Monday to Friday, this great cloud of testimonies, what has been helping these people is not a church, it's not religion, but their faith, their practical faith on what is written. And the same can happen to you. You who are watching now, we are here live. There are a team of advisors now ready to pick your call, to give you a solid, life-changing advice. Our lines are open. The number is 02076866000. Or, alternatively, you can drop us an email to help@findanswers.tv. And I want to call now the attention to those who have been hurt in a relationship. At the end of tonight's show, Pastor Roland will be saying a powerful prayer for all the viewers, but particularly to that viewer that says, I have been hurt in our relationship. Pastor Roland, it's not a joke. Here in Great Britain, the number of people who have been hurt in a relationship, the number of women who are now single. We've got many single parents in the UK. And please, this is not a tone of criticism, but this is a comment to see how shocking it is. Single parents who have been hurt by their partner badly, their hearts are in pieces, and they don't know what to do because of this so-called love.
Maybe you are watching us right now, and you are a person that are suffering because of this word. Suffering because of love. Doesn't matter how the problem came, please understand us. Doesn't matter if it is because of a problem in the relationship that existed, because of the divorce that is taking place, because the boyfriend cheated on you or left you or vice versa. Maybe you are a person that is in need of help. Look at my eyes. We want to help you because, Douglas, there is a cure for this. You know, a person is wounded, but tries to cover that up with a bandage so that nobody can see. But when we touch on top of the bandage, the pain is there.
They scream.
We cover, but we still feel the pain. And you know, when this person hears a song, a love song, tears comes to their eyes. When this person sees someone in the TV just kissing, tears comes to their eyes. We want to hear your story. We want to talk to you. You can call us now, 020-7686-6300. Call us, because there is a solution for this problem. If you're suffering out of love, we can help you. Today, in the Finding Answers, you can know how to truly love.
You're going to go for a break now, and we'll be back shortly.
Virtual expanses, the internet, more and more possibilities and technological innovations. Saturday Shift.
The behaviour that I had, it led me to being imprisoned on 2 occasions. When I first went to prison, I didn't think it was anything. It was like, okay, everyone goes to prison. But, you know, I still had an attitude in there. I was fighting people because I just didn't want to be told what to do. I was really getting into trouble all of the time. I was selling drugs inside. I just didn't care. But, you know, after a while, I was starting to get tired. I didn't want to be that person. So I knew that I had to change. So after I went through the course and started to look inside of myself, and I started to see the changes. I carried on going. It was hard at first, but I continued going more and more, and seeing the changes in myself made me to see that I could be a better person. So I just continued, and today I'm not depressed, I'm not angry, I don't have a bad attitude, I don't want to fight people all the time, and I just love being me.
Always watch the previous shows, the previous episodes of Finding Answers. All you need to do is to go to YouTube, go to the search bar and type Finding Answers. You're going to find there all the previous episodes with different hosts, and you can actually, make a share and forward the link to your family members, friends, co-workers. It would be very helpful. Just go there, copy and paste the YouTube link and forward it. We are also on Instagram and Facebook. Okay, Pastor Roland, still talking about love, the definition of love. You know that there is a clear distinction, Pastor Roland, between God's definition of love and society definition of love.
True. If we go for the standards of the Bible, has nothing to do with what is happening in the world today. To make these things more clear, we have here in the studio today a testimony. Someone that will share her story about what happened in the past and how was her life before. And she connected faith, intelligent faith, to her actions in order to turn around the situation that she had in her life. Our guest today is Ashkhen, and Douglas will interview her right now. Let's watch the testimony.
It's pushing me for the rest of the week, so it's like a boost.
Things were really tight.
Today, the way I see myself is completely different.
Welcome back. Well, we have here in our studios Ashkhen. How are you, Ashkhen?
I'm fine, thank you.
That's great. Thanks for coming to Finding Answers to share your testimony. Ashkhen, I was, talking to you before the show began, and you really have a lot to say, don't you? Because you've been through a lot. But tell us, how was your life before you get to know the power of faith?
My problem started when I was a little girl. I was really young, maybe 3, 4, 5. I was very, very young. But I just felt that I wasn't receiving the love that I should be receiving. I felt very rejected and very unloved by my family. There were 4 of us. There were 2 boys and 2 girls. I'm the second child. And I could see that my parents preferred the other children. I never really understood why, so I used to cry a lot. I used to cry all the time. And that made them even more angry. And, my father would hit me. They used to say very cruel things. I remember my mother used to say to me particularly, she used to say, I'd rather have another 3 of them than another 1 of you. Wow. And that made me feel really, really awful.
That was very hard to hear.
Very, very
especially
difficult.
From our mother, isn't it?
Yeah, so I just felt that I was really unloved, unwanted. My father, when I got to the age of 10, my father started to tell me, when you get to 16, you can't stay in this house any longer. There's no more room for you. You're going to have to make your own way in life. And as a 10-year-old child, I was petrified because I didn't know where I was supposed to go. Where was I supposed to live? How was I supposed to find a home? Where would I get food from? A 10-year-old child doesn't understand those things. So I grew up with so much fear. And every year he would remind me, he would continuously remind me, when you get to 16, you're out of here. You need to go. You need to make your own way in life. So
and that went on for years and years.
It just went on, and plus I used to be beaten, and you know, I mean, I remember when I was a child one day, this would happen more than once. I'd come home from school and he'd open the door, and when he saw me, he'd just shut the door and leave me on the doorstep. And I remember there was a bed factory opposite from our house called Multi Springs, and the workmen used to shout at him, "Let her in, what's wrong with you? Let the girl in." But he would just leave me on the doorstep. Other times, when I was a little girl, many times he threw me out the house and I would just wander off, and then they might come looking for me. I remember when we were children, we were driving in the woods, and he told me to get out the car, and I got out the car and I was walking. I didn't know where I was. They drove off. They just left me. I was like 4 or 5. I was walking off in the woods. I didn't know where I was. You know, there was so much fear and so much insecurity. There was never any security or, you know, this is my home, this is my base. There was none of that when I was growing up. It was always like, you know, am I going to be allowed in the front door? Will they feed me? Many times they would feed the others, and they would say, my dad would say, "You're being punished, you can't eat." You know, they weren't very kind. They were not kind at all. They weren't what they should have been. Mm-hmm. But I didn't understand at the time they had their own issues, especially my father. He had a lot of issues which he never spoke about. It's only now as an adult that I've actually found out why he was the way he was. But when I was a child, obviously I didn't understand, and he shouldn't have treated me like that anyway, because he was supposed to protect me and care for me, and he wasn't doing that.
And of course, all these bad treatment from both your parents, of course, that led you to make very poor decisions, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I always used to want to die. When I was 4 or 5, I used to make prayers to God, and I say, "God, please, can I die tonight? I don't want to come back tomorrow." And I always thought about death. I was obsessed with death. I just wanted to die. I didn't want to continue living. And when I got to 13, 14, then that's when I took my first overdose, because I realised, okay, maybe there's something I can do about that. So I took 60 aspirin. I took 3 bottles. And
Why, were you trying to commit suicide?
Yeah, yeah. I decided.
How old were you?
I was 14. I just decided there's no point to carry on living, because I'm not wanted, I'm not loved. You know, maybe when I die they might miss me, but, you know, I just thought, let me just get rid of myself. So I took 3 bottles of tablets, and my father saw what I was doing. He didn't try to stop me. He didn't try to stop me at all. He just watched me. And then I went into a coma. He never sent me to the hospital. He never got my stomach pumped, nothing. I went into a coma. And when I came round, I never forget, he always used to, my father used to buy fresh cream cakes. We all used to like fresh cream cakes. And he actually bought me a tart with fruit and cream on it. And he didn't come in the room, but he just had his hand out with this plate with this fresh cream cake on it, offering it to me. And I remember thinking, oh, if he's bought me a cake, he must really love me. But he didn't come in and ask me how I was. He just held out this plate. And I remember took the cake and I ate the cake. And that was his way of showing love. He couldn't show love. He had no love to show. And my mother always said that he hated his mother, but we never really understood why. We knew that his mother was dead, but we never understood anything. For a long time, we never really understood. It's only years later that we realised what had happened. When he was 20 years old, his stepfather had died, and his mother was very attached to her husband, her second husband. And when her second husband died, she couldn't cope, so she cried and she cried and she cried. And 6 months later, my father had come home and he'd found his mother lying on the floor. And when he'd gone to his mother, he'd realised that she'd killed herself, and there were some tablets nearby. So she'd overdosed and she'd killed herself. So now I realised when he saw me doing all that, he probably thought, oh, she's going to do like her grandmother. I can't stop her. It's only now I realised this. I didn't realise this. It's like last year I found out this information. So, and also I look exactly like my grandmother. She used to cry a lot. I was exactly like her as a child. So he probably hated me because he hated her because of what she did. She killed herself and left him alone. You know, basically she said to him, you're not worth living for. I'll take my life, I'll go. So he felt rejected. So he hated me because I reminded him of the woman that he wanted to forget. He never told my mother what his grandmother had done. He never spoke to anybody about what had happened. He went to his grave with the secret. It's only the other day that one of my uncles let it slip because he thought that we knew about it. So now I understand why he was the way he was, but as a child I didn't understand.
Of course.
And I felt terrible. So after that incident, a year later, obviously I didn't die. So a year later I took 20 Panadol with a bottle of wine. I remember I was out on the marsh with my friend, and we both We were both drinking, but I took tablets as well. And I went home, and then I started vomiting. So my mum called the doctor, and he said, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "Oh, I had a tummy ache. I took a Panadol." I didn't say I took 30. And he said, "Oh, next time don't take Panadol, take something else. It's no good for your stomach." But nobody even then knew what I'd done. That was a second attempt. But again, it failed.
So we're talking about 2 suicide attempts.
Yeah.
Within a year.
A year, yeah. A year within each other. And then when I got to 16, my dad said, "I thought I asked you to go. I told you you can't live here anymore." So at the time I was at college, I was doing my A-levels. So there was a social worker in the college. So I went to her and I said, "Can you help me? Because I've got to leave the house. I can't stay there. I don't know where I'm going to go." So she said, "Okay, we'll try and find you a hostel." But when they approached the women's hostel, it was full up. They had no room whatsoever. So she said, "The only thing I can do is put you in a men's hostel." So I had no choice because my dad had told me that I need to leave. I had no choice. So I remember packing my things and telling my dad, "I'm going now." And he said, "I'll drive you there." He never said, "Don't go." He said, "I'll drive you there." That was the worst thing, yeah. He never said, "It's okay, you can stay." He never said anything. He never ever gave me that lead. So I left the house. I took everything. I didn't have very much, just a few clothes. And I remember I went in the hostel, I shut the door, I lay in the bed, and I just started crying. I didn't know what I was going to do. I did not know what. I felt so alone. And a week later, that week, I remember ringing the house, asking my mum. And a week later, my mum told me, "Don't ring this house anymore because I'm leaving your father." She took my sister, she left the house, and that was it. The family fell apart. I had nowhere to ring anymore. I was completely alone in this man's hostel. And then a while later, I met, well, various things happened. I ended up being taken advantage of by one man. And then I met another guy and I ended up getting pregnant. These were the men in the hostel. I ended up getting pregnant. I was only 17. And then when the guy in the hostel found out I was pregnant, he said to me, "You've got to go. You've got to leave. You can't stay here anymore." So it's like my whole life I'm just being thrown out. He said to me, "This is a Christian hostel. You're not allowed to do these things. You have to leave." So then I didn't know where I was going to go, so I ended up going to the bedsit where the father of my child was living. He was living in a bedsit, so I went to the bedsit with him. It was really horrible, and then I was in there a few months and he started beating me up. I was 6 months pregnant. One day he came home and he was angry and he hit the ironing board in half and the ironing board just smashed and I screamed and he just beat me up with his fist and I was covered in bruises. So I left the house. I remember I rang the Samaritans. Again, I didn't know what to do. I had to wait for him to leave the house for me to crawl back in the house because I didn't want to be hit anymore. And the following morning I went to see a social worker and they put me in a battered women's home. So I was in a battered women's home. I was sharing a room with someone. It was a horrible situation. There was a girl lying there in the bed and she wasn't talking to me and everything. And then after that I saw a social worker and they said, "Right, we can put you in a halfway house." And in those days a halfway house was a place that you went to before you got housed. And that was like this, it was these really old almshouses and everyone just had one room each. It was bare floorboards, it was like an iron bedstead. No sheets, nothing, just like a wash basin, not a wash basin, you had like an earthen sink. It was just horrible. Basically, it was horrible, and I was in there. And then the social worker said to me, "Do you want to go to a mother and baby home? Because there you'll be with other girls that are like you, who are having babies and everything." And I agreed. And when I got to a mother and baby home, it was so much better. It was much better because I was with other girls my age group. We were all teenagers, we were all young mums. And there was a matron there was a cook there. They made meals for us. So for the first time, I felt like I was in a family unit again. So I was in the mother and baby home and, one thing I forgot to say. So when I was in the battered wives' home or the battered home for women or whatever, my mother came to visit me and she said to me, "You have made your bed, you have to lie on it." She said, "Go and tell the father of your child where you are. You can't run away from him. Tell him where you are because you can't be on your own. You're having a child." So I obeyed. I was very young. I rang him and he came. He found out where I was and that was it. After that, he felt like he could carry on beating me up because my mother had basically given him permission by allowing him back into my life. So I had no protection.
That means her advice didn't help very much.
It didn't help because it wasn't the right thing to do. If your child's being beaten up, you don't tell that child to go and tell the man who's beating you up to come back into your life, because they put you in the home for you to be away from that person. So he doesn't know where I am, but she said, I have to tell him where I am. So he knew where I was.
Yes, Ashkhen, we are going to go for a break now. But after the break, when we come back to the next segment, I want you to tell us what was the worst moment of your life. Stay with us.
Forgiving the person who betrayed you can be tough, and it can almost always leave a scar. The scar that remains from an abusive past can affect your future in so many ways. There are various forms of abuse, the seen and the unseen. We understand your pain because we have been through it ourselves. If you or someone you know is a victim of any form of abuse, help is available. Rahab, removing all hurt and abuse. We won't pretend it never happened, but our aim is to help you heal the wounds of the past so that you can build a happy future. We'll listen, we'll advise, we'll be your shoulder to cry on. It's free, confidential, and we're just a phone call away. For more information, call 0207 686 6000 or visit our website uckg.org/Rahab.
Do the maths. Changing your life is not as simple as changing your hairstyle, your shirt, or rearranging the furniture in your living room. You're talking about years of deep-rooted habits, behaviours and problems that are not going to change overnight. Many may say, think positively, but the trouble with that is that you can't do or change anything with just thoughts. But add action into the equation and the outcome can be different. Let's do the maths. Positive thinking plus action equals a change. Whatever it is, if the change is significant, if it's worthwhile, then it will have to take time, effort, and homework from you.
Follow My Channel's updates on Facebook. Like your favourite videos and see pictures of your favourite artists. Access our Twitter @MyChannelUK and get to know what's on with My Channel. Visit tvmychannel.com and be connected to our world. My Channel, a whole new world of entertainment.
Welcome back to Finding Answers. We're here tonight with Ashkhen, who has a very powerful story. And now I want to ask you, Ashkhen, what was the worst moment of your life?
I can't actually say there was a worst moment because as far as I'm concerned, Pastor, the whole lot was horrible. The whole, you know, my whole life up until the point that I actually received help, because, you know, things just went from bad to worse. So, for example, I was in this relationship where I was having a lot of domestic violence. So I walked out of that relationship when my daughter was 2 and I had a newborn baby as well. And then I met someone else and he was also very violent. He took advantage of me because I was just looking for love. I was looking for security. And because I really wanted that, people could see that and they would just take advantage of me. So I met another guy who was very, very violent. I remember one day he emptied my meter, he took all the money out of the meter, and when I asked him, what happened to the money in the meter, he punched me so hard he broke my nose. So I had to have 2 operations on my nose. Another time he came in and I asked him a simple question, he threw a glass and it just missed my face and smashed on the wall. So I mean, my life was, you know, there was just nothing good
This guy
going
who
on.
went violent, you know, who punched your face and to the point of breaking your nose, did he ever say to you, I love you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that was
See,
just normal.
That's what we are talking about here. Look, she heard from the guy several times, I love you, honey, I love you, baby, whatever. But look, the same guy who says to her, I love you, because of something silly, he goes and punches her in the nose and breaks her nose, and she has to undergo surgery. See, this is the love of today's society, a love with pretense. Dear viewer, love isn't feeling. Love isn't poetry. Love isn't chocolate with flowers. Love is more than that, it's action. Love is sacrifice. And when we love, we sacrifice. We give our best. So that means none of these men actually loved you.
No, none of them. And after that, I met another man, and he just had so many women. He told me that he wasn't seeing anyone else, but later on I found out, I mean, he had so many women, he had so many different women, so I used to think, oh, this one's good, he's not beating me up. But he was doing something just as bad. I mean, if I was special, he wouldn't have had so many women. So I was just one of many. Mm-hmm. So that was no good either.
When did you realize, Ashkhen, that you had hit rock bottom?
I used to cry all the time. I used to cry myself to sleep every single night, and I was obsessed. I just wanted to die. I used to think about death every night. I used to think, why can't I just leave this world and not come back? I'd already attempted suicide twice. I tried to slit my wrists, but I didn't have the courage to go through with it. I used to walk into the road hoping to be run over. You know, I just didn't want to be around. My life for like the first 30 odd years, 40 odd years was hell. I never enjoyed any of it. I wasn't a happy person. I had a very miserable, long, sad face. People always used to say to me, cheer up, it's not that bad. And I used to think to myself, you don't know my life. You don't know what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it was bad. It really was bad because, you know, even my friends, even the close friends I had, a lot of them would just take advantage of me. They'd come in my house, they'd steal my things. One of them called the social workers on me, I think, or my mum or my brothers called the social workers who tried to get my children taken into care. There was just so much rubbish going on. There was, like, I didn't have a family that I could go to where I could feel safe. And what I used to do, I used to travel a lot. I used to literally run away. I used to travel, I used to run away just to get away from my life because I couldn't cope with my life. I'd go abroad, I'd leave the kids with someone and I'd think I'm free now. And I'd pretend I was someone else because I didn't want to face the life that I had in England. And when I knew I had to come back, I'd start panicking and make a fuss on the phone, on the aeroplane, because I couldn't really cope with the fact that I had to go back to that life.
Now, the lady that I see here before me on this sofa doesn't have a sad face. Looks very happy, confident, successful. So it's visibly clear that your life has changed. How has your life changed?
Well, basically, I started going to this Christian place and they started to help me, you know, like through the talks and the, you know, the things that we would talk, the things that we would do, different campaigns, different things that we were, you know, things that were explained to us. I began to see that I didn't need to live the way that I was living, that I began to understand that I have value because I couldn't see that I had any value because the way that my parents would speak to me, like my dad would say to me, you're like that thing that's only worth to be thrown on the street. He used to call me names, he used to call me prostitute when I was 13, 14, he used to call me a prostitute in my language. All the time he would call me a prostitute. I was a virgin, how could I be a prostitute? Yeah. But you know, the names that they called me had made me feel like I was so despicable. But when I went to this Christian place, they made me realise that I actually have value and that God really loves me because I used to think that God did not love me. I used to think that God loved everyone, but that God couldn't possibly love me because my parents didn't love me. Therefore, how could God love me? I wasn't a lovable person. But I began to realise that God actually does love me as well as everyone else. And that I really have value, that, you know, that I have talents, that I have gifts, that I'm a unique person, that there's nobody else like me, that, you know, that I have a place in this earth. Because I used to think that I was a mistake, I shouldn't really be here. That's why I tried to kill myself so many times. But, you know, my whole mindset changed. And, you know, I realised that I can actually enjoy my life, which was something I hadn't done for the first 40 years of my life.
And how did faith help you? How is your life today?
Today my life's different, completely different, completely different. I don't have any suicidal tendencies. I don't wish to die. I wish to now make up for all those years that I lost. I want to live longer now. I want to live to at least 100 because I lost the first 40 years. So I want to make it up now. I'm happy within, I'm content within myself. I'm working, I've got a good job, I'm a professional, I'm a qualified accountant. My life is so different now because I have that confidence that I didn't have before. I can go and do things, I can achieve things, I can be whatever I want to be. But growing up, I didn't have that confidence because I was constantly being put down and, you know, always being thrown out of everywhere that I was. I had no security. Now I have that security that I've been lacking my whole life.
So you've got peace now?
I've got peace.
One question before we go to the next segment. Did you manage to forgive your parents?
Oh, completely. Because when I realised as well, when I found out what had happened to my dad, I started to feel really bad. Like I wished that he was still alive and that I could talk to him about it. But he's been dead about 20 odd years now. I only found out last year what really happened to him, and I felt so bad that he had to go through that. Mm-hmm. And I wish that I'd known because we could have helped him. And my mum, you know, I've completely forgiven her because I realised also she was a victim of her circumstances, and you know, she didn't have a very good marriage with my dad either, and I was a little bit like the piggy in the middle, the one that was just blamed for everything. But I've completely forgiven them because I realised that, you know, it's not really their fault what happened. We were all just like victims of our circumstances.
So your life today is completely different?
Completely different.
Congratulations. Very good and inspirational story.
Thank you.
And please, dear viewer, for the sake of many people's lives, please, if you're watching this show, you know, within a few days from now, this episode will be posted on our YouTube channel. Please forward tonight's episode to as many friends as you possibly can. The UK has to know about this. Great Britain has to know about her story. There are many Ashkhens that are watching us right now, that if these people watch this, her life-changing story, they will also seek help. And just as God dealt with her tremendously and changed her life for good, God will also help as many people who watch this link. We are going to go for a break now, and right after the break, Pastor Roland will be back.
In life, there are problems that just hit you with a blow. Everything crumbles away, and the heartache never seems to disappear. Everything keeps going wrong. You are in despair. What do you do when your hope isn't enough? When your single prayer seems to return unanswered, and the persistent problem is still there? Partner with God and make a chain of prayer. A Chain of Prayer is a weekly series of uninterrupted prayer and action to tackle the most stubborn of problems. Make the chain of prayer and turn things around once and for all. Don't give up. Make a chain of prayer. It works.
The international talk show. Opinions, arguments, analysis. Four journalists discuss the topic of the week.
Chrissy has been to the streets of London and she went to interview a few people concerning tonight's topic. Let's see what the public has to say.
Definitely depression is probably number one.
They're arguing and they're talking negatively about each other.
What is more valuable than another? And so
you can have as many friends and family as you want. It just depends.
Is a common regret, like, oh, like I should have like asked that person out, or like.
Hi everyone, it's Christy here on Finding Answers, and tonight's topic is what is love? In today's society, the word love is used so commonly. However, do people really know what love means? Well, let's see what the public have to say.
Do you think that the word love is generally misused?
Yeah, I think it is.
Why do you think that?
Because a lot of people in relationships, it's like the girl feels like it's hard for them to be trusted, for them to get the trust from the guy, and it's almost like the girl tends to get attached from the guy, so then she automatically falls in love with him, and then the guy just ends up using him. So yeah, it's not nice.
Yeah, if it's put on by the wrong people, yes, definitely. Love. People just say, I love you, I love you, I love you, and it doesn't really mean anything quite often. So yes, in that particular case, yes, I do believe that.
I wouldn't say it is misused, but it's wrongly recognized. I think love is a really powerful word. It needs to be told to the closest people to you, the people you love the most.
I think it's used too much when people don't mean it necessarily, yeah. I think that a lot of people use it to generalize like a lot, as opposed to real love and true love, yeah.
Well, Pastor Roland has something interesting to share with us.
Yeah, while I was watching the testimony, I got a list of what love isn't, what it is not at all. Because many people are suffering because of the misuse or mixing up, actually, love with this. Love is not just a feeling, as you said, Douglas, a crush. Love is not sex, flowers and chocolate, sleeping with someone, selfish interests, daydreaming, jealousy, something temporary, romantic flick, hurting the person you love, talking on the phone for 2 hours, you as the center of the universe in a relationship, the list goes on. Douglas, there are many people suffering because they don't know the true meaning or the true meaning of this word love. Love is giving. Love is sacrifice. Is when you sacrifice on behalf of the person you care. When you deny yourself, it's a self-denial. It's a decision-making followed by actions on behalf of the person you care the most. If you are not finding this in your relationship, if you're not actually acting like that nor receiving this, this is where our ears are open, where the email address is available for you to contact us, because not just the prayer here will be effective for you, but you will see results if you seek for help. There is love. There is how to love and be loved. God is love. But there are people that don't know God. So how can they love a person that's not perfect if the perfect one they don't know? They can't say, I love you, God. You must know God, then you're going to know the true love, and you're going to know how to use this word in your relationship.
Let's use now the most powerful weapon yet available at our disposal, which is called faith. Prepare now a glass of water. Pastor Roland will be saying this special prayer.
Prepare now for the moment of prayer. If you would like us to make a prayer for your health and general well-being, send your name and prayer request to help@findinganswers.tv.
Our Lord and our Father, in the name of Jesus, we come before you to connect our lives, the life of all those who are praying with us, with you, my God. You are the true love. You loved us so much that you have given your Son on our behalf. And I am sure that if any person that is suffering at this moment asks for your help, my God, you are ready and you will help. You will touch and you uplift this person. From this moment, from this prayer, there are people, my Father, that are believing so much that they are holding this glass of water as the last door they are knocking, as giving the trust to drink this water, and as if they could forget what had happened, and another chance comes before them. They are hoping for it, and I ask, let it happen, my God. Let through this prayer, these people see results. I bless this water in the name of the Lord Jesus. And when they drink, let your power enter inside of them and make this change from inside out. Healing from inside out the life of this person. I bless the water and I bless those who are with us in this prayer. And all those who believe, you can drink now and be blessed.
Well, that's it for tonight. Thank you very much, Pastor Roland.
Thank you, Douglas. Thank you very much.
Very helpful. Ashkhen, thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Pastor.
Well, we wish you a blessed week. Stay tuned. God is with you. Good night.